Hello and welcome back, and this is my election prediction based on the latest polls in all 50 states. And without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe if you want more videos. And now, back to the video. So we're going to be looking at the polls in all 50 states to see who is currently in the lead between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And I guarantee you, the result will shock you. So, first we're going to start with the West Coast, and the states of Washington and Oregon are pretty solidly going to go to Kamala Harris, as well as California and Hawaii. This is no surprise. Out of these four states, Oregon is the closest. In the past, it's been the closest, and in this election, it will be the closest. And we can see that Harris is just leading by +5 in this recent poll, but then again, it's from July, and her odds have gone up since then. So, even though Oregon is not safely going to Harris, it will still go to Harris in this upcoming election. Now, Trump has some states of his own in this region. He gets Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, and Alaska. Even though Alaska did elect Mary Peltola, a Democrat, for its sole House seat, Donald Trump will win in the state as he is much more popular than Peltola's opponent, Sarah Palin. However, we now get to two swing states, being Nevada and Arizona, having a combined 17 electoral votes and being extremely important in this upcoming election. As we can see with Nevada, the polls are extremely close, even though Donald Trump was doing well in the 2020 election compared to how he did in other swing states. He did pretty well in Nevada, as there was no shift between 2016 and 2020. In 2024, it seems like Harris is currently in the lead, according to most major polling sources. But her lead is not enough to have a definitive idea of who will win. It's just a general idea that Harris may win in Nevada. This is largely due to union support, Las Vegas unions, especially leading Harris to narrowly getting the state, getting her up to 84 electoral votes. And now for our next swing state in the region, we have Arizona. So Arizona was the home to John McCain, a very popular guy. He was a senator, he ran for the presidency, and he won Arizona by over 8 percentage points. Trump, as recently as 2016, won it by 3.5, but in 2020, he barely lost it to Biden. But it seems like in 2024, he is leading, but by narrow margins. Emerson College has him up by +1, for example. So Arizona does go to Donald Trump, bringing him to 31 electoral votes, as opposed to Harris's 84. So now Harris gets Colorado and New Mexico, not by large margins, but she gets those states nonetheless, bringing her up to 99 electoral votes. These two states did go to Biden, they went to Clinton, etc. They were closer back in 2016 than they were in 2020, but still they will be similarly close as they were in 2020, going to Harris in the election. One important thing to note is that right before the 2020 election, Biden was given like a 90% chance at victory. He still won the election, but not by margins that a 90% chance at victory would lead you to believe. And right now, Harris, according to the betting markets, is given like a 55% chance at victory. And this is due to polling which has historically favored Democrats over Republicans. The last time it favored Republicans was when Trump was not running back in 2012. But ever since Trump has ran, it seems like the polling does favor Democrats, so we should keep that in mind. And my next video will be based on a similar polling error, who will win in 2024. But regardless, we will continue with Trump winning 3 electoral votes from North Dakota, the same from South Dakota, 4 from Nebraska, 6 from Kansas, and 7 from Oklahoma, bringing him to 54 electoral votes, whereas Harris gets Nebraska's 2nd district. Now, Trump gets Texas, a state that will be closer than it was in the past. It'll be similarly close as it was in 2020, but it will still go to Donald Trump in this upcoming election. If you don't think so, let's just look at these polls in Texas, which have Trump leading by as little as +4, past the margin of error. The margin of error is +3, and as much as +8. So unless Trump really messes up in Texas, he will win the state with its 40 electoral votes, bringing him to 94 while Harris has 100. So now we get to Walz' home state of Minnesota, which was once closer, now not so close. Walz will bring the state over the line and towards Harris. Harris will win the state, bringing her to 110 electoral votes. However, in this region, Trump has some states of his own, with one being Iowa, the next being Missouri, the next being Arkansas, and then finally Louisiana, bringing him to 124, and he actually takes the lead over Kamala Harris with three regions left, one being essentially the Rust Belt Midwest, one being the Northeast, which typically goes to Democrats, and the last being the Southeast, which goes to Republicans. So we'll see if the effects of the Southeast and Northeast will cancel out, and then the election will essentially hinge on the Midwest. That's my theory, but we'll have to see. So first we're going to start with Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a swing state, and it is projected to be one of the closest states, as it was one of the closest back in 2020. Less than a percentage point back then. Now it seems like, according to the most recent poll from September 15th to 18th, Donald Trump is leading in Wisconsin. This goes against most of the other recent polls, which did have Harris in the lead, but this poll is by Emerson College, which is a very famed and accurate polling source. So we give Wisconsin to Donald Trump, extending his lead to 24 electoral votes, even though Harris gets Illinois, bringing her 5 electoral votes behind Donald Trump. So now with our next state, we have Michigan. So Michigan is a close state as well, and one thing that is different this time than last time is the conflict in Gaza, where many voters are very upset with Harris's comments on the debate, and many voters who support Israel are happy with Harris's comments in the debate. But regardless, we'll see how Harris's comments actually have affected her polling in Michigan, and it does seem like her polling has decreased somewhat since the debate, down to just +1 according to this Emerson College poll, but she still leads nonetheless in Michigan. However, Trump now gets Indiana, he gets Kentucky, he gets Tennessee, he gets Mississippi, and he gets Alabama, bringing himself to 179 electoral votes as opposed to Harris's 144. Moreover, he gets Ohio, which is J.D. Vance's home state, and a state that he won in both of the past 2 elections that he was in by about 8 percentage points. But now we get to the Northeast, starting with Maine. Maine is a state that Harris will win, even though some originally viewed it as close. It is not so close anymore. We can see Maine, this one poll is Maine's second, which Donald Trump will win, whereas in Maine's first, Harris will win that district. We can see in the general election for Maine as a whole, Harris is leading, and it will go to Harris, whereas New Hampshire will be a little closer than Maine, but it will still go to Harris in this upcoming election. So both states go to Harris, and they will be less close than they were back in 2016, but similarly close as they were back in 2020. And our next few states will all go to Harris, being Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, and New Jersey. So Harris is now leading 218 to 197 after most of the Northeast has been tallied up, with one remaining state being Pennsylvania, possibly the closest state, and it has 19 electoral votes. It's in the Northeast, which is all very interesting. We have to look at polls in Pennsylvania to see who will win. And in Pennsylvania, it is a dead heat, but Harris narrowly takes the lead over Donald Trump. And according to a few more polls, Harris is in the lead in Pennsylvania. So Harris takes the lead in Pennsylvania very narrowly and is now leading 237 to 197 against Donald Trump. She now gets the states of Maryland and Delaware, whereas Donald Trump picks up West Virginia. On the other hand, Harris picks up the state of Virginia. This is a state that, according to some sources, has been very, very close. We can see in Virginia, according to recent polls, one poll had it as a dead heat, whereas another had Harris up by +2, another had +10. So these polls in Virginia are extremely weird, but this poll is from August, so who knows? August to September. So who knows what's going on in Virginia? It seems like it is getting closer, and Virginia may actually have a chance of going to Donald Trump in this upcoming election. But now it's 263 to 201, and then 266 when you factor in DC. But if you support Donald Trump, do not click off just yet. Just wait and see what happens. Now we have North Carolina, a state that did go to Donald Trump back in 2020 as well as 2016, and it will likely go to Donald Trump in 2024. +4 is past the margin of error. It does go to Donald Trump according to recent polls, but I'll give it a tilt margin. South Carolina is not a tilt margin, but it will still go to Donald Trump. And Georgia will, well, we'll see what happens in Georgia. Georgia is a swing state. It has Harris up by +2 according to this one poll. This is all the same polling source, so we can't just look at one source. The other sources all have Donald Trump in the lead, and this source is from the same time period as this one, so we have to just take into account these canceling each other out. And then the other sources all have Trump in the lead, so we give Georgia to Donald Trump, but by a tilt margin, bringing him to 242 electoral votes to Harris's 266. And now, the state that will decide this election is the same state that decided the election back in 2000, Florida. And in Florida, we can see polls are telling a story that will go towards one candidate and one candidate alone, with that being Donald Trump. Trump leads by as much as +7 and as little as +2 in polls in Florida. It's safe to say he will win Florida like he won it back in 2016, like he won it back in 2020. And mind you, he won it by increasing margins in 2016 and 2020. He will likely win it in 2024, winning this election 272 to 266. Interestingly enough, the election is not based on Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is picking the losing candidate in this scenario, which is actually pretty interesting. But regardless, this is my election prediction as of September 23rd, 2024. Like and subscribe if you want more, and thank you for watching.